Welcome back. Okay, it's time for macros. These often get overlooked, but there are some serious gains to be made by understanding and using a few of them. And we've got some that you can use straight out of the box. There's even potential DPS gains for pet classes like DK, Hunter, and Warlock, as well as ways to make the game far easier to control and ways to have a lot of fun. So let's get the most useful ones out of the way first, after today's sponsor. Us! It's us. Look, our patrons are a massive part of making this all possible. And here is this month's loot, and there's also a special, so you get even more. It's a hell of a lot, and it's all from our game development team. But hey, there's more. We've also got the Lore Walking podcast, where you will find hours of in-depth lore content, early access, of course, to upcoming videos, a few of which are there now, and it is the best way to help us out, and you get cool stuff in return. So, patrons, thank you, and if you would like to join up, then you can click that link below. Cursor and player macros. Having to click again for ground-targeted ability sucks, so just use a macro like this. Now, this is a game changer for things like Blizzard, Effervescence, Heroic Leap, stuff like that. Sometimes, though, your mouse isn't actually where you think it is, so there's also this. This drops it at your feet instead. You can use this for things like Death and Decay. Obviously, not that good for a Heroic Leap. And also, by the way, the hash show tooltip automatically grabs the correct tooltip for the spell that the button will cast. Just in case you were wondering, it's very handy. Now, if you're thinking to yourself, hang on a second, does this just mean I can pick a target in a macro? Yeah, it does. And there's a whole bunch of ways you can specify targets, but unfortunately, only the @player one works with ground-targeted abilities, because it would be a bit unfair otherwise. For everything else, though, yeah, there's player, mouse over, target, focus, pet, party N, raid N, arena N, boss N, where N is the position in the keyframes, and even specific player names. Note though, we largely leave mouse over stuff out of this video because Blizzard actually supports it as a default option now, but you can still use it for anything custom that you're making. As well as just these, you can even select the target of any of these by adding target. So say you have a boss on focus and you want to drop a quick heal on whoever the boss is hitting. You could just make a macro like this. Since focus target is going to be the tank, this will just cast Healing Surge on them. Great, right? Or if you raid with the same people as a priest or a druid and always drop PI or innervate in the same person, you could just write a macro instead of having to manually target them, right? That would be pretty damn handy. It's less things for you to worry about, right? This is the power of macros. And then if you're a particularly lazy raid logging healer, you can even macro your DPS abilities to always target the boss in a fight. Waste of a keybind, but possible, and you can combine it with some other stuff for actually great effect. Now, modifiers then. The part in brackets is called a conditional, and macros can accept multiple of them to make smart decisions based on what conditionals return true. Here's an example of a target and modifier working together, right? So, /cast modifier shift @focus, power word shield. So this translates to, if the shift key is held, target the focus with power word shield. If the shift key is not held, use the next bracket, which is empty. So that would just mean whatever the normal logic is, as if you just pressed the silence button itself. Valid modifiers for these are Control, Shift, and Alt. You can even use this for different abilities, right? Like this, with Black Powder and Eviscerate, where essentially if you bound this to, say, the R key, then a sub-rogue could swap between finishers, but would only be using one action bar slot. Maybe hold Shift for AoE, hold nothing for single target. Using these in combat is entirely personal preference based on how you want your own action bars to look. It can be kind of awkward making macros when there are just enough action bars to keybind the combos instead, but they can definitely help for target selection. Now, the most universally useful version of this, though, is probably for mounts. So take a look at this. It's really a pretty awesome one. You can just put this on one button and have all of your mounts be on that one button. If you hold Shift, that'll be your Dragon Riding mount. Control will be your Transmog Yak. Alt could be your Auction Dinosaur. And no modifier could be Invincible, if you've got it. Pretty damn handy, but we can go further. Dragonflight removed the old talent conditional, but it did replace it with a new one called Known that checks if your character knows a spell. So now we can do crazy stuff like this, right? So this is fun. So in addition to the above, it also checks 3 things. 1, if your character doesn't actually know how to use a mount, it will summon the chauffeur chopper instead, right? No matter what you hold down. Next, if you hold shift but haven't learned dragon riding yet, it'll just default to your normal mount. But before it uses your usual mount, it will check to see if you've got travel form and use that instead. So 1 button for your every movement need. You can also add flyable if you want to use a flying mount when you can fly, and a ground mount otherwise. Now before we move on to the DPS ones, the known conditional can be used for a few more things. Say you have a choice talent node like Incapacitating Roar or Mighty Bash. As a druid, you could do a macro like this, which would basically let you use 1 button to stun or disrupt an enemy based on which one of those spells that you actually know. The only caveat here is that it does show as a question mark if you have neither. It used to render fine, just like when you dragged an unlearned talent to the bar, but seems that broke. Now over in Fury Warrior, there's another pretty damn nifty use case. So if a Fury Warrior knows Annihilator, this button will be Slam. If they don't, it will be Raging Blow. Technically, the talent Storm of Swords adds Slam into your rotation, but you'll always take Annihilator with it anyway. This basically means that you can change a talent without having to mess around with your hotbars. Pretty neat. Obviously, a talent loadout will shift your hotbars with it, but when you're manually tinkering or just have a weird setup, little things like this work perfectly. Okay, let's increase your DPS. You can macro a bunch of stuff together, but only if one of the abilities is on the global cooldown. That might seem a bit restrictive, but why press 2 or 3 buttons when you can press only 1? So here's an example. This one uses Shadow Dance and Symbols of Death at the same time as a rogue. Generally speaking, if you have both Shadow Dance and Symbols up, you will want to press both of these at the same time. Now this itself doesn't even trigger the global cooldown since neither are on the global cooldown, so technically you could even take this a step further and add in Shadow Strike afterwards. Now there's a tiny bit of lag between pressing Shadow Dance and your action bar letting you press the Shadow Strike button, but macroing it actually means it'll go off immediately, potentially even letting you fit an extra attack into the Shadow Dance window. You'll still want to press Shadow Strike with a different button at other times, but this could be a great way to get a bit of a win. And if you don't want to use Shadow Strike, you could just press this button while your global cooldown is rolling, and everything except for it will cast. If you want to be totally nuts, you could even go further by using your trinkets. You can use items directly with /use and then a slot number. So yeah, you can just do this so that you're trying to use your trinket every time Shadow Dance is pressed. Now you can macro trinkets with most of your cooldowns this way, working best with when the cooldowns actually synchronize with each other. It might not be optimal every time, but if you find yourself like forgetting your trinket regularly, then yeah, this is definitely worth it. To move on then, these next pet macros are pretty cool as well. For hunters, this will actually tell your pet to start attacking your barbed shot target immediately, and it will force the pet to use its basic attack if it has that ready to go. This can actually circumvent the occasional bit of lag time that it takes basically for your pet to decide to attack, and it also forces them to instantly swap targets. Back in 2011, this was apparently a few percentage DPS gain, but it's probably a hell of a lot less now. Realistically, this should more or less just be on most of your regular abilities as a BM or SV hunter, or at the very least just on the ones that you open and press most. Now this also works with Unholy DKs and Warlocks, so here are some example macros. The Warlock one is really long because it needs to try every pet ability, so that's why it looks just a little bit ridiculous. And if you struggle with keybinds, then this next one is for you. So this is awesome. This macro uses Smite if you're targeting an enemy, but it uses Flash Heal otherwise. Basically, harm and help are valid conditions. So if you're targeting an enemy, harm is true. If you're targeting an ally, help is true. These also work with mouse over, though you do need to give it a few clauses like this to make sure that it catches everything. So mouse over help, mouse over harm, target harm, then the heal spell. Kind of awkward, but it does work. Now, you can run this to use important keybinds as hybrid DPS and healing spells, which could save you some pretty damn vital keybinding space on the specs that really do end up feeling just crammed with buttons. Now, the opposite is also useful for DPS players who want to be able to off-heal or heal themselves. The key is to just swap the order around. For hunters, mages, and paladins, then, this next part is also pretty damn vital. CancelAura Macros. These just make your life so much easier. Of course, you cannot attack during Aspect of the Turtle or Ice Block, and sometimes Divine Shield and Blessing of Protection make the mobs that you're tanking or fighting just behave weirdly. This means you may want to remove these earlier than they will expire, and these macros do just that. And the reason that we place CancelAura first is that the first time you press the button, it will try to cancel, fail, and then cast the spell. The next time you press it, it will successfully cancel the aura. For mages, you can optionally add a /cast blink at the end if you want to make sure that you instantly escape whatever danger you ice block yourself in. Now, to round us off, a few little bits of fun. So this time Druid specific, and it relies on the spec Conditional. It takes you into the appropriate form with just one button. Unless you're, of course, Resto, in which case it cancels your form, which is all the same thing. It can also be changed to use Treant form if you prefer. Now, you can also use this to change action bar contents based on form if the first action bar paging is not enough for you, so pretty damn sweet for the druids. There's also the stealth conditional, then there's also stance, which includes warrior stances, paladin auras, shadow dance, and then form, which handles nearly everything else. So warriors, they can actually get to stance dance with just one button, like with this macro, which is pretty sweet. Rogues also get to use one button for their stealth attacks here. Make sure to bind Ambush separately on Outlaw, since with the talent you can get Ambush procs without being stealthed. For Sub, of course, though, this is just perfect. And Shadow Priests can also make sure they're in Shadow form before using an ability with a macro like this one. And that's basically it for macros, at least without getting into sort of crazy niche possibilities and some stuff that the add-on stuff allows, the benefits of macro toolkit, or looking for one-button macros that Gnome Sequencer enables. We'll leave that kind of thing for another day. This is really just to give you your basic kit to allow you to have a better time in Dragonflight without using any more add-ons, and we certainly recommend just about all of these things. So let me know if we've sparked some sort of macro idea. Let me know down in the comments what macros you're actually using, and all of these and a few more are available in the document that is linked in the video description. So make use of it, have fun, and enjoy.